And aloha, everybody. It's Jim's birthday week.
It's the 17th.
I know. It's October 17th or 18th.
Depending
And
on where you are.
it's Jory and Jim with the Open Hearted Practice Group. Happy to see you all joining us for our weekly exploration of nonviolent communication, a process created by our dear teacher, Marshall Rosenberg. And today's class is deepening into intention and how we can use nonviolent communication when we are being with the judgments that other people might have of us. So I'm imagining everybody has the experience, at least occasionally, of being judged by somebody. And so maybe hearing a difficult message. Today we'll explore our choices about how we can work with that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm feeling energized in the moment. I have had a day of kind of a balanced day, had a couple of nice calls with other trainers, took a wonderful walk with Jory, took a small nap with my kitty cat, ate a good lunch, and now I get to hang out with you guys. So how are you?
I'm actually just settling because while he was doing all of that, I was out taking care of business out in the world and getting some shopping done and stuff like that. So, and I arrived here just in time. So my nervous system has not been taken care of in the same way yours has.
And Jory was
So
out.
I'm arriving now.
Jory was out foraging for us. So thanks, Jory, for going shopping. Yeah. So let's get started with the self-connection exercise just for variety. I think I'll lead it today since
Okay.
you've been doing it. I've got all the groups pretty much made already.
Perfect.
So
I'm going to be the lazy giraffe again. So yeah, do whatever you want.
sounds great. So anybody need to say anything before we start practicing in our practice group? All right. So if you're doing what I'm doing, you're probably looking at a screen on your device, whether it's your computer or your phone or your iPad. And you probably see faces of other participants, other human beings that are gathered here today. So I invite you to bring some awareness to what you're actually already doing as you look around on the screen, and just let your eyes go wherever they want to go on the screen and see who you see or what you see. And as you look at us, you might also have some extra attention that you can put on your body. So even as you're seeing, you can also be noticing what you're feeling. You might notice sensations come up as you glance around and you see some people you recognize. You might notice a particular sensation come up. Maybe you see somebody that you don't know and a different sensation comes up. Each moment, a new arrival, to quote Rumi. So just be with perception of looking and sensation, noticing the body. Might also notice emotions coming alive. Sometimes we take the sensations that we are experiencing and they become emotions. And just be present. First you notice it, then you name it, and just allow it to be. And then just to see what happens, you can allow, if you want to, you can allow your eyes just to close. And now that changes everything, at least for me. The visual information goes away, and now somehow I hear more than I was hearing before. So going back to observing, just noticing sounds. And it's a new moment with new sensations arising in your body. New emotions. And then you're here in a nonviolent communication practice group. Just ask yourself, what needs are you hoping to meet by being here today? Sometimes these, you can connect to a word that describes your need, like learning or growth or community or connection. And sometimes you might experience it more like an energy that it's hard to find a word for. Whatever it's like for you, just again, notice if it has a name, name it, savor it. Savoring means to enjoy the pleasure. And again, connecting to requests. What would make your life more wonderful today in terms of the needs that you're hoping to meet by being here? Maybe it's a request you have of yourself. What could you ask of yourself that might help you get your needs met more effectively or with more fun, or whatever word works for you? Maybe you have a request for somebody else in the group. Could be you want to be heard about something, or there's a question you have, or some other need you'd like to address. How could you ask for that? What's your request? If your eyes have been closed, you can let them open and look back at us again. See how you feel now after taking some time to rest in the awareness of your own feelings and needs. As usual, we'll move into small groups for about 10 minutes or so. In the small groups, it's your opportunity maybe to say hello to an old friend or meet a new friend, to share what's alive in you after having had this self-connection exercise. What I mean by that is what you're feeling when it's your turn to talk. You can't really plan ahead. When it's your turn to talk, you have a chance to talk for about 2 or 3 minutes. And you can share how you feel if you want to. And when you're not talking, you get to practice empathy, just open-hearted listening to other people. No need to respond, no need to give advice, just to be present with somebody else. So we'll do that for the little timer in the upper right-hand corner of your screen. We'll say 9 minutes. And then there'll be 1 more minute at the end of the time. You don't need to do anything. You'll automatically come back. And we'll see you in 9 minutes. If you're not quite in a group yet, it just means you just arrived, and I'll get you into a group really quickly. So here we go. See you back in 10 minutes. Welcome back.
Yeah. And if you are not muted as a result of your time, please do mute yourself now.
Yeah, so I'd love to hear how it was for you to check in with a few folks. If anybody has anything they'd like to say, go ahead, Tanya.
I really enjoyed the discussion, and a question came up at the very end, asking about reflection. Someone was asking about reflection and what is they put it as what kind of reflection is expected in this group, but I was hearing it more as, what is a reflection that serves life.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you had a moment you tend to say some stuff about that.
I think we'll actually cover that as part of the lesson today. There'll be a place later in the lesson where we'll talk about reflections. So I invite you to look forward to that.
And I'm just going to quickly say that one of the words that you can point to is just acknowledge, acknowledge, acknowledge. That's what it means. You take yourself out of it, you acknowledge their experience.
Yeah.
And now I see that Nikhil Ananda has his hand up.
Go ahead, Nikhil Ananda.
Thank you, Jim and Jory. An interesting group. The two people I was with, I both knew. By the way, Tanya, it was nice to see you here. I missed last week because I had a political thing or a medical thing. I can't remember now. But in the group, just to show you what a small world it is, and maybe everyone knows that, just as we were coming to the end, so we couldn't get into it, one of the other people said, hey, do you happen to know, and he mentioned a person that I know, Jim and Jory, you would know him, and he just passed on Maui. And I was at his service that was right close to where your house was at Blue Mountains. So it just showed me, it's like, man, what a small world it is. Here's someone from on the mainland, and they asked me about someone who was pretty well known on Maui who just passed. And anyway, so it just showed this interconnection that we have in the planet, maybe the universe.
Yes.
Anyway, thank you for listening.
You're welcome.
Thank you. And then Rob?
Yeah, I was in the group, and the guy was Mark Sheehan, and he was my Eureka teacher in 1975 in Hawaii.
Oh, what kind of?
And I did Eureka.
Eureka. Oh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, you know Mark Sheehan? You did know Mark Sheehan?
I might have.
Anyway,
The name rings a bell, but is he here?
well, he was there. He was environmental, I guess, very involved in environmental as well.
Yeah.
Anyways, I didn't know, I was off on vacation. I didn't know he had passed, and I just feel some remorse, and it's like, not knowing he passed. And yeah, I lived with him in a house there, a consciousness house, the Eureka house, and so he's gone. Wow. So yeah, just kind of mourning there, and kind of missing the ceremonies for him. So I feel some regret about that, and yeah, kind of touching to me.
Yeah. Well, thanks for letting us know. Yeah, catching your regret and your grief. There's this quality of grief.
Yeah. Getting old. Oh boy, all the signs are there.
Yeah.
Don't say that to Jim. It's his birthday.
Oh, really? Happy birthday.
Thank you.
You don't look that old.
Thank you. That's the Zoom filter for you. I tell you, I love the Zoom filter. Takes years off of you.
Uh-huh.
Great.
Thank you. And Nushin?
Hi, everybody. Hi, Jim and Jody. Glad to be here. I haven't been able to be here because of the time conflicts for a while.
Uh-huh.
But I just really enjoyed the breakout room, and I realized that there was like a pause. There was like a silence after everyone shared.
Mhm.
And my tendency is that you just have to just fill out the space with
Mm.
something,
Mhm.
and it makes me kind of uncomfortable that there is a silence there.
Mhm.
And I just had to sit with myself. There was like a you know lower, like a little bit heavier energy. Because between us, I think we were just going through something, all three of us, and just needed that space to just be. And it was just nourishing to just not to have to share anything,
Yeah.
just enjoy each other's presence and connection. And there was nourishment in that connection.
Aw.
Nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, that's like a preview of part of the lesson today. Thank you, Nushin.
Yeah.
Thank you. And Nikilananda again?
Yeah, interesting. That was what I was referring to. And I'm shocked that you guys don't know Mark Sheehan. He was the head of Sierra Club. Big Beach and McKenna would be condominiums and hotels if it wasn't for him in the 80s. And Arica was a huge spiritual sojourn for people during the 70s and 80s. And he was the head of that before he became a wealthy realtor and developer. But
Oh,
he had two sides to him. But anyway, he passed, and at Blue Mountains the other day was a huge, hundreds of people were there, including the mayor of Maui, to
wow.
honor him. So yeah, Mark Sheehan. Anything that Sierra Club does, and Maui Tomorrow, that organization too. If you don't know those organizations, check them out. Okay, thank you, and thank you, Rob, for that connection.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody else? I'd love to hear if anybody is celebrating anything about your practice of NVC this week, especially if you tried something new based on what we did last week or what we've been practicing in our training the last few weeks. If anybody
Yeah.
has anything you'd like to share,
Or breakthroughs.
hmm
Yeah.
go ahead, Siva.
Well, tomorrow is for me the last day of this Jewish high holiday period where we go from oi to joy. Joy meaning it's the Simchat Torah, which is the where we finish reading the Torah and start all over again. So Saturday of this week, I was telling my group that I went to a sukkah party in somebody's backyard where we remember the fragility of life, and we eat in this temporary fragile building, and we bring the harvest. We eat fruits and vegetables and remember those who are we depend on in terms of agriculture.
Mm-hmm.
So I connected with a couple people by saying to them right off the bat, pretty much, what how would you connect what you learned from your mother to what brings you here today? And there were four different people where we got into these deep, wonderful, enlightening conversations that were beautiful and sweet and informative, and I'm just non-judgmental, which is,
Aw.
this is, this is what I learned from my mother, and how it lives in me today.
How wonderful, Siva. That sounds like a very wonderful prompt to open up connecting conversations.
Yeah.
Nice lead into it for you. Huh?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And Janet?
if I can unmute here. Yeah, I just wanted to say that I've been experimenting with using the requests. And I think possibly, is there something called an invitation, or is that something I'm imagining?
No, that's
No.
right. Yeah.
There is, okay.
Yeah.
So I might have even experimented with that, and it seems to be really kind of magical. And I just want to acknowledge that you were the ones that taught me that, and it's helping me. And thank you.
You're welcome. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear you're experimenting.
Yeah.
That's really gratifying to hear.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping to have everybody have some experience in experimenting with the things that we're offering. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. I'm glad to see you here, Patricia. I didn't see you earlier, and see if there's any other new folks that Oh, Cayenne from Vietnam. Glad to see you too. So let's dive into our lesson today. I'll share the screen with you. Last week we focused on attention. So what we're doing in this new series is we're combining the skills of the Pathways to Liberation Matrix of Self-Assessment that we worked on last year. And this year we're combining them with some of the basic practices of nonviolent communication. And some folks have been voting on what your preferences are. I also got a cool email from one of you that made a request that inspired today's class. And so some of us, maybe 99.99% of us, likely receive difficult messages that we might label as a moral judgment from other people at various times in our life. And today we'll look at how cultivating the intention of nonviolent communication can support how we work with those difficult messages. And so just to review a little bit, last week we focused on attention. And in nonviolent communication, the focus of attention is on the present moment. What's actually happening right now on or in this moment. It's never going to happen again. So we bring our attention to this moment. And all the four components of nonviolent communication: observation, feeling, need, and request, they're exquisitely designed, in my opinion, to help support attention in the present moment. So we did some practice with that last week. And now we go to the other kind of basic frame for nonviolent communication, which is intention. And today we're going to focus on, at least at first, on the intention to connect with yourself. And so that's sort of the large frame. And we'll be exploring with about what Marshall called the 3 different modes of nonviolent communication. And you'll notice that on this particular slide, there's 3 of them, and self-empathy is like the base of a triangle. And when I made the slide, I did that on purpose because self-empathy or self-connection is like the foundation for empathy or honesty. Empathy being the listening part of nonviolent communication, and honesty being the speaking part of NVC. I'm taking a breath to see if Jory wants to add anything.
You said it all enough.
Okay, so we just start practicing, right? And then we'll kind of build the lesson into the practice. So think of a time, or imagine it. If it's never happened to you, you can imagine that it might, or maybe you saw it happen on TV or watched it happen to a friend. But think of a time when you heard a moral judgment from another person. Maybe it was directed at you. Maybe it was directed at somebody else. A moral judgment is a judgment that implies right and wrong, good and bad, appropriate, inappropriate, and implies punishment if someone doesn't behave in the right way, and it implies reward if they do. The moral judgment could be a positive one, like you're so smart, or you did a good job. So that's another form of moral judgment.
Or you should something.
Yeah. And then the most typical kinds of moral judgments are some kind of a diagnosis, like you're too selfish, or all you think about is your own needs. You never think about anybody else's, or you don't care about me. And so moral judgments usually start with the pronoun you. Sometimes in general terms, they might be with the pronoun they. Like we create whole classes of human beings and we think they are a certain way. So just write down one example or two of a moral judgment. Janet, is that an old hand or is that a fresh question?
Oh, that's an old hand. I don't know how to take it down. Let me work on that.
Okay, I'll take care of it.
He's got the power.
So if you need some inspiration, I'll tell you one that I've heard recently. And it would be something like you only you only care about what you want. You always have to have it your way. That's how it sounds. You always have to have it your way. So that'd be the observation that I'm working with.
A parallel one is, you should do it my way.
If you want to add your moral judgment for the chat, might inspire other people and give other people a chance to learn what kind of moral judgments we all. Go ahead, Richard. I see your hand up. I can't hear you yet, Richard. If you're talking, you need to unmute yourself.
If someone called me a name, is that considered a moral judgment?
Yeah, that would be a diagnosis. If they call
Okay,
you.
I got plenty of those. Okay.
Yep.
Did you catch that message?
Okay. Anybody, they are racist. You're always requesting. Those people need to get a reality transplant. You had such a moron face then. You shouldn't be nursing a 4-year-old. You should not be scared. Why do you always have to have the last word? Everybody needs a hobby. That's one of mine. No wonder you're living alone.
Wow.
Ouch.
Yeah.
You're always avoiding me. You are too demanding. Yes, that's good. Why can't you be happy? How could you believe that? I cannot trust your yes. Yes, these are all excellent examples of moral judgments. And so we'll work with how to transform those today. And we'll start with with some self-empathy. Remember, we're going to build the foundation for connection by focusing on self-empathy first. And we're going to call it enjoying the Jackal Show. So the first part of self-empathy in this case is to put our what we call jackal ears out, which is our habitual reaction. Get my jackal ears here. These are jackal ears, in case you've never seen them before. This is a prop that Marshall used when he trained folks in nonviolent communication. And you'll see that the jackal ears are multi-directional. You can either have them on, in, or out. Right now, my ears are out, focusing on the person delivering the moral judgment to me. And so I hear, all you do is think of yourself, and I just notice what my habitual reaction is to that kind of thinking that I'm hearing from the other person. My habitual reaction is to fight fire with fire and judge them right back. And it usually is like a mirroring kind of judgment. You think I'm always the one that has to have the last word? I've been keeping score for years and I'm down towards the bottom. So that would be a habitual reaction that might come alive in you and me. So what's a habitual reaction that might come alive in you when you hear the moral judgment that you heard? So now you're paying attention to your own thoughts, not what the other person said. You're paying attention to what you're telling yourself. You may, or I'm not saying that this is what you say out loud, by the way. I'm saying that this is maybe what you wish you would say. Because sometimes we hear moral judgments from somebody that has more structural power than us, like our boss, or a spiritual teacher, or somebody that we think has more rank than we do. And so we keep our mouth shut. But it doesn't mean we don't have a moral judgment or reaction that comes up in us. Do you have a question about this, Siva, or did you want to share your reaction? Go ahead, Siva.
I have a question that I'm almost embarrassed to ask it because I should know, but I don't. So I'm going to ask.
Great.
And that is, what is the definition of jackal ears out?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah. The simple definition for me is the voice of anger. That'd be one way of looking at it. The voice of anger.
It means you are hearing the voice of anger?
No, I'm expressing it. When I have my jackal ears out, I feel angry. I'm feeling judgmental towards other people.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's usually the voice of blame, criticism, those kinds of things. That's how I define jackal ears out. That's the same for you?
yeah. Jackal ears out are the opinions, usually negative opinions. Well, they could be positive too. Oh, you're such a good girl is also, but mostly what we're talking about right now are the negative ones.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, Sudha says blaming and shaming the other is jackal ears out.
Yeah. And often it starts with you are, where we're labeling somebody with some sort of negative label. And we're talking about jackal ears out when we're kind of pushing it back on the other person, no matter what they say. We send back negativity to them. That's jackal ears out.
Go ahead, Tanya.
Just so the question is, what is our habitual reaction
Yeah.
to hearing judgment?
Yeah. When we hear that specific judgment that you did in your observation, what's your habitual reaction to it? Whether you say it out loud or just think it. And there might be more than one. You might have a whole, what Marshall called a jackal show. You might go on and on and on. It might be like, you might be able to fill up a journal with your judgment.
Are you talking about both reactions?
Just jackal ears out right now.
Okay, just jackal ears out.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went with the childhood rhyme. So I put it in the chat.
Yes, I saw that. It says, I'm rubber, you're glue, anything you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. That's a good one.
Yeah. Oldie but goodie.
And about the mental age I am when I'm triggered.
So yes, so this is actually a less appreciated part of a self-empathy process. Many of us want to just skip to feelings and needs. We don't give quality of care to these jackals. Each of the jackals that we have, these judgmental statements that are rattling around in our head anyway, they all need empathy. And one way to kind of give them some empathy is just let them out every once in a while in a safe place, like your journal or with an empathy buddy or a counselor or a coach or something like that, and let them be.
It's like giving yourself permission to be human, to have certain feelings, and then allowing yourself to dump it back out there onto the ground, so that you don't have to keep carrying it around. So that's one way we protect ourselves, is just shoot it out somewhere.
Yeah, it's a way. It can be a step on the road to deeper self-empathy. Yeah.
And it's usually something that's going on anyway inside of ourselves. And we try, and if we're trying to be nice, we kind of crush it, and it just kind of squirms around inside of us. So it's an opportunity to just say the truth of what's going on for you. It's not the truth about them, or what you're saying isn't necessarily the truth. It's just the truth about what's going on, that you have some sort of judgment or protectiveness and a right wrong piece in you.
Yeah, never think that there's anything wrong with judgments. If you've ever met a human being, you've met a judgmental person, because we've all been educated. Every single one of us, as far as I know, that I've ever met, and I haven't met everybody on the planet, but everybody I met had a similar education to me, in which they were told that they received moral judgments from, their parents, their teachers, their aunts and uncles, whoever they're related to, other people in the town or village or school or whatever. And then we take all that in, and that becomes a very rich source of learning for us. We learn that's how you be in the world, is to, if you want to survive in the world, you judge people.
Yeah, they're either good or they're bad. You're a good girl or boy. You're a bad boy or girl.
Yeah, go ahead, Isabel.
Thank you. My case was, I was doing an observation on my husband, who said he should have said he's sorry. So he is talking about his employee, and he's mad that he didn't say he's sorry after an error. And so my point, which I didn't say, was stop clinging to that thought.
Beautiful.
That's a judgment. That's a jackal out, right?
Yes, it's a very enlightened one, to actually spiritualize what another person should do. If they're going to be enlightened, then they should not be so clingy. And the other one is, somebody wrote up here a minute ago, that person probably has attachment issues. That's a very 21st century diagnostic tool that we can use to judge almost everybody, because everybody's got attachment issues. It's it kind of a one size fits all moral judgment. Okay, anybody else got anything about this before we move on to the next step, so to speak? Because the next step is we turn the ears around, because we had like an equal opportunity educational system, where often if we judge other people, we have the thought that we shouldn't judge other people, or maybe we believe the other person's judgments about us. And so the second part of self-empathy, when we're going to use the four choices model, is to turn those ears around and continue to enjoy the jackal show. But now, what's your habitual reaction, if you have one, that agrees with the other person's jackal.
In other words, you turn it now into toward yourself, the jackal.
Yeah. So if the judgment that I hear is something like you always have to have it your way, then yes, self-judgment, like Nushin said. So if I hear you always have to have it your way, then I say, you're right. I shouldn't do that. I'm so demanding. So I kind of join in with the other person's moral judgment and start judging myself. So
yeah, it's almost as if we start the first part of it by puffing ourselves up, and it's all about them and seeing them as less than. And now we switch it around. We turn around and notice the judgments we have in ourselves, where we shrink ourselves down and make ourselves wrong.
yeah, so enjoy this part of your jackal show.
Yeah, just to name them and put it out there rather than holding on to it inside and then ruminating on it. Just let's put it out in the jackal show, the judgments we have of ourselves.
Go ahead.
It's almost like we go from the jackal ears out, where you are or you should, to I am, I should.
Yeah. Tanya's got an example of kind of helplessness or hopelessness. Often jackal ears in has this helpless or hopeless kind of quality to it. I can't handle this and no one can help me.
Yeah.
Not enough. Yeah, this is like the core belief that drives jackal ears in, is we're not good enough. Some kind of we're damaged goods, something like that.
I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's at the heart of the jackal show, inward.
So just for clarity, what you're doing when you're writing down the jackal show is you're practicing the skill of observing. You're doing you're actually doing something that we probably got very little, if any, training in elementary school or middle school or high school or college or graduate school. It's very rare that you get training in observing your own thoughts. And yet by learning to observe your own thoughts, you gain power. The power of observing gives you, supports clarity. And when you have clarity, it can support choice.
Yeah, it moves from the sense of identity to, oh, that's what I'm telling myself.
Yeah. And Dipti and then Siva. Go ahead, Dipti. Dipti.
So when I hear a judgment, and if my tendency is to get defensive, then where does that sort of fit in here?
Well, when you say defensive, what do you want to do? Do you want to fight or do you want to beat yourself up?
I want to fight.
Yeah, so that'd be what we call jackal ears out.
That was the first part.
Okay.
Yeah, that quality of defensiveness is jackal ears out. There's nothing wrong with these jackal choices, by the way. They just don't always get us our needs met. In fact, they rarely get us our needs met.
Yeah, we're talking about the right-wrong game. With the jackal ears out, they're the wrong one. Jackal is,
Mm.
I'm the wrong one.
Right. And so so since that anyway happens, that habitual reaction, what we're doing here, I'm just clarifying, is that we don't verbalize it. So if I was to get defensive and start saying something, instead I just notice that, oh, I want to say this, but instead of actually saying it, I'm sort of observing myself wanting to say it. Would
Yeah.
that be correct?
That's one choice. We're going to see what all of our choices are. One choice would be just to keep it as an inside job, notice it, but that's not enough. Noticing it is just the first part. Observation is always the where all NVC practices begin, with an observation, but it's not the end. Sometimes it can be observing. Sometimes observing is enough to have a kind of an insight of liberation, but usually there's some more processing required. So we'll just keep working through it and see.
Yeah, and what we're doing here with these first steps are actually observing. We're actually, in a way, stepping back and just realizing what's the sound, what are the words, where are we pointing? Thank you. And Siva?
This is over my head. I want to keep it simple. Does jackal ears in mean I'm accepting the judgment?
No, you are judging.
Yourself.
Yeah, jackal ears in, you're judging yourself. You're actually listening to the thoughts or the words that you throw at yourself about your own wrongness.
And it may show up as an agreement of the other person's, in my experience, my inner jackals, when they're directed at myself, often are agreements, because I got the same moral judgment programming that everybody else did. So if they tell me that I always have to have I always have to get my way, and they think it's wrong, then that actually agrees with the way that I've been taught. You should always give up your own needs for other people. You should let other people get what they want. You should always put your needs to the side. And so if I hear that judgment that all you do is think about yourself, Jim, then there is a quality of agreement that it would be highlighted by my jackal ears in.
Okay, so what was confused because I wasn't seeing two actual people in this relationship. I was putting them together. So just because somebody says such and such doesn't mean I have to accept it. I
Right.
still have choices.
That's right. Yeah, we're actually, that's what the point of this whole exploration is to see what choices we have when we hear these moral judgments. So you're right in the right place, Siva.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's move on.
Demetra? I'm going to get up and take care of the window.
Okay, you're gonna do what?
I'm going to try and cover the light since it's very bright.
Okay.
And sort of hard for
Okay,
people.
Jory's gonna see if she can do something with the glare coming in. So we'll go to the next step. So now we're gonna take our self-empathy deeper. And we're going to put our jackal ears aside and put on our giraffe ears. So giraffe ears is another, it's like a symbolic way of acknowledging what we call the zero step, where we are getting really, really clear on our intention to connect and bringing our attention to the present moment. So we're gonna use the foundation that we built with observing, and now we're gonna go to the body. We start with what we hear or see in the world, the perceptions that we have, the stimulus of our reactivity, and now we go to the body. We check out what's actually happening in our body. The first part would be, how do you feel? So that's a tricky question in English. So I'm going to make it a little bit even more specific. What sensations in your body do you notice when you hear this moral judgment from the other person? So in my case, I hear the moral judgment, you always have to have your way. And I notice I'm gritting my teeth. My stomach's getting tight. My head is starting to like nod, like I'm beginning to constrict into. There's a part of me that's like looking for the exit door, so I can feel the energy going to my legs. So I want to run away from this.
Mhm. And you put your hand on your chest. What's
It's
the
a
feeling in there?
constriction.
That's the constriction.
Yeah. So first notice the sensations in your own body. And then if they have a name, name the sensations in your body.
Sometimes in your throat.
It's usually somewhere in the core, from your groin area to your belly, to your chest, to your throat, your face. I notice a lot in my jaw.
Just noticing, just to be aware of this physical sensation, it's this signal.
And sometimes we have emotion words that can describe these sensations with even more clarity. So to add some emotion to these sensations, I feel hurt and irritated, sad. I just notice it's like a little parade it's like unpeeling an onion and getting different layers of feeling. Yeah, I like what Marjorie says. I change my body position, like I'm not standing up straight and confident. I feel like something in my stomach, a kind of anxiety.
Yeah, this is about self-awareness. Just really to notice these are habituated patterns, they're automatic, and they're also our wake-up call.
Yeah, and Sudha notices an image of being in a corner. Sometimes we connect to these body sensations and emotions through thoughts and images, and so that's perfectly fine. Whatever works for you to actually get more in touch with your direct experience. That's what we're aiming for. And so first step is always to notice when it comes to feelings. It's just it's like shifting attention from the outside world to the inside world. That's why these ears are pointed inwards.
Mm-hmm.
And if they were really accurate giraffe ears, they'd also be pointing down, because I'm going to the body and I'm no longer up in my head trying to analyze or figure out what I'm feeling. I'm actually simply noticing my own direct experience of sensations and emotions. So first I notice it, then remarkably, there's often a lot of release when we just simply name it.
Mm-hmm.
And because naming supports allowing. When we say something like, "Oh, I'm feeling irritated," at least after the way I've been trained with NVC, I say, "Oh, that makes me human."
Yeah, I also noticed that it lets me know what's happening. It's, you know, it's happening anyway, and we get lost in it and we go off on various trails of judgment. And this brings it right back into the present. And it's a noticing that something is calling for attention. It's a signal that we sometimes just get overwhelmed with. No, but and what we're doing here is having it be a signal that wakes us up to what's happening.
And so now we go from this wake up call, the alarm clock has gone off, we feel these feelings, and now our old habit, as we saw a moment ago with our jackal ears out, is to blame the other person for our feelings. And now we're going to change habits. We're going to start developing a new habit and start taking responsibility for those, for the feelings that we have in our body. And the way you take responsibility is by connecting them to your needs.
Of course, you have feelings. Something really matters. Something so human and so basic to who we are. These needs, these are just some of the words that are pointing to that, but this is our shared humanity.
So take each feeling, each sensation, each emotion, and link it to one of these needs.
See where it's connected.
So, for example, if I follow the constriction in my chest and the feeling of hurt, and it just immediately kind of shifts to a sense of sadness, and it's around the need for acceptance. Not extrinsic acceptance, not like Jory, if Jory had said it. It's not like I need acceptance from her. It's like I need acceptance. I need to accept that this has happened in my life. I need just a quality of openness and acceptance.
You're really connecting to the essence of who we are as human beings. It's just in part of our being. This is very human, that these things really matter and that we react or respond to them. And we're moving from reacting to actually being aware of what's important underneath it. Why would we even react? Something really matters. And these are just some of the words that point in that direction. See what aligns with your experience in terms of what is important, what matters.
And if your needs aren't on this list, then please trust yourself. Don't trust the list. And we'll be quiet for a couple minutes while you consider.
Yeah, I just also want to say it may not be on this list, but we're looking for the universal needs.
About one more minute. Sudha says, would you say that peaceful coexistence is a universal need? Well, I would say that if you think it's a universal need for you, then yes. And I do think that that we all, I would just call it peace. But yes,
Peace and connection are definitely universal. And whatever words that point to that, these words point to that, then yeah.
That makes sense to me. And so you can probably guess, now we go to the PhD program. Okay. So now we're going to turn the giraffe ears around, and we're going to, I'm going to ask you to do what might be challenging. We're staying in silent empathy here. We're staying in zero as best we can. And now we're going to focus on a guess about what was going on in the other person when they said what they said. So this is just guesswork. Mm-hmm. This is like one trainer, Sylvia Haskovitz, calls this Sherlock Holmes of the heart. Sherlock Holmes being this famous English detective that Sir Arthur Conan Doyle wrote about back in the 19th century, early 20th century. And so now we're just making some deductions and inductions about what we imagine the other person might be feeling. And so sometimes we get some really strong clues based on their body language or the tone of their voice, the way they're looking at us. They can give us some clues. Human beings are exquisitely designed to interpret the body language of other people in order to survive in groups. So we don't have to teach you how to do this. You already know how to do it. We're teaching you what you already know how to do. And so just make some guesses about how do you think the other person is feeling, what sensations are in their body when they say whatever they say. In my case, for example, I hear this message, you always have to have your way. My guess that the feeling that is going on in the other person is frustration. I don't know that it's right, but it's the guess that comes up for me.
Yeah, and I just want to acknowledge when we're looking at the other person's needs, sometimes we resist that because we're wanting to protect ourselves. It's not that we're giving them something by guessing their needs. We're actually giving ourselves something that enables us to move into a place of shared humanity rather than the toxic judgments that we have.
So you start with the feeling and then link the feeling to the need, just like you did with yourself. So in my case, again, I sense that when the other person says this to me, they're feeling frustration. They're feeling frustration, maybe annoyance, maybe they're feeling hurt. And my guess is they're needing some, they want to participate, they want to contribute. That's my guess, is their need is for contribution. Let me put that needs list back up again. And you can make some guesses about what you think the other person might be feeling and needing.
Might be.
This is a guess.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as you make these guesses, you can go back to your own body and notice how, if there's any sort of effect from making empathic guesses.
Yeah.
I won't tell you what mine are. I'll just let you discover what your own are. Just see what it's like for you. Maybe you notice something, maybe you don't. That's really, it's about your own experience. So, what might be the need behind scapegoating? So, scapegoating, if you're not familiar with the term, it actually goes back to, it actually comes from the Old Testament of the Bible, and an old tradition in many ancient cultures where a goat or a sheep was used as a sacrifice for the sins of the mistakes being made by a particular community. So we're gonna kill this guy, this goat, then we're all okay. So I think what's going on when I scapegoat somebody would be that I'm trying to protect myself. I'm trying to protect myself from punishment. I want
Put the blame elsewhere.
yeah. So it's about protection. It's pretty tragic, but that's what seems to come up for me around that. And I see Janet says a need for healthy connection. So that's kind of a way of saying well-being and connection combined into one need. Yeah. I love seeing these guesses here, by the way, because and I also love to hear what it's like for you, if anybody has a report, to either notice what happened in your own experience when you made some guesses about your own feelings and needs, or what happened for you when you made guesses about the feelings and needs of what Marshall called the Jackal Postal Delivery Service. And Shamatha says, what's the need behind narcissism? Well, narcissism is what we would call in NVC a diagnosis. And so, we'd have to go with narcissism is not an observation. It's a judgment that the other person's being a narcissist. So I think that somebody who had the judgment of me, that I always have to have the last word or I always have to have my way, they might think that I'm a narcissist. And so I'd rather stick with the behavior rather than a diagnosis.
Yeah.
So I would, rather than labeling somebody or labeling somebody, I'd want to pick out one behavior and use that as then that would help me to connect. But overall, when I think of people that are labeled as narcissistic, they have needs to be seen. They really want to shine, to have their contributions acknowledged.
I also think it's a form of self-protection, narcissism. I'm always right. I don't have to take any responsibility. It's a wall of protection.
Could be. Rena.
Yeah, when you asked that question, what is my experience around giraffe ears in and out? It just felt so tender in my body, in my heart, because that's one of the core practices as a mother, as a family member to my sister, siblings, So the thing is that when I move from the Jackal show to feelings and needs, I'm really able to slow down, to thaw, to feel all parts of me as in the present moment, that what's really important for me. And then I can mourn, I could really feel regret, sadness, mourning. And it's all an inner process, but it's so transformative. And then there's the beauty of needs, like how in the energy of the longing for connection, to be understood, to matter. So I can go through that to the some kind of a core kind of knots, that I can touch upon.
Yeah.
So mourning comes to me
Yes.
mainly. And then that thing, that pain is a given, but suffering is a choice.
Yeah.
So I can live that. I make a choice
Yeah.
through my requests,
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Odile asks, what's the need behind your avoiding me, needing reassurance? We don't know, but I love your guess. Notice what happens when you just make the guess that if the other person's avoiding, which I think the observation would be, they've moved into a space that's in a different space that where you are. And your request for them to come be with you, you might hear a no to that request. And so it could be around, they might need some reassurance. They might need some space. They might want to protect themselves. They might be feeling really tender and needing to protect themselves. That's what I notice of me when I go into an avoidant place. And let's check in with Shamata.
So I just feel panic. It's like I want to run away because I find these labels protective of me. I have groped early in. I think I went in for NVC and the idea that this is a beautiful, naive, lovely world. And I felt I got hurt so many times. So it's just when I know this person is this and this label is this, I just feel so calm, and it's so safe for me to know this is their behavior, I can expect this out of them, I can react consistently with this. So to kind of see beyond that into something about their heart is first hard for me, but also I don't know how it's useful because that's how I.
Yeah, one of the things I find that it's useful for is dissolving enemy images. Yeah, that we're not holding them in some sort of a box. We just see that they too are a human being doing the best they know how.
I like the boxes. You see, the box meets my need for safety. It meets my need for clarity. I want to know that it makes me protected. It protects me because I know this person, what you call the enemy image, I call the wonderful, clear image of this person. And
Sure.
so I'm unable to let it go.
Then don't. You keep your box as long as you need to.
Right.
It's up to you. If it's meeting, what I would do if I was in this, the way that I would answer this question if I was asking it for myself would be I would look at what needs of mine are met by having the diagnosis or the label, and honor those needs. But I would give equal time to the needs that are not met by having that judgment or that diagnosis of the other person. And I would hold space for those. And then I would ask myself, is there a way that I can get both of these, all of these needs met that comes at less cost to me? And someday maybe the answer will be yes. Maybe right now the answer is no for you. And that's perfectly fine. I never want to push the river. You're perfectly okay. Your light is shining bright here. You don't need to do anything to add oil to your lamp. You're showing up, you're doing the best you can. And I have total faith. I'm not going to try to talk you out of being you. How do you feel hearing that?
I am torn. The first half was really clarifying to when you said that part. I felt relaxed to hear that I could hold on to this enemy image, or what I call the clear image. And but when you clarified that while it's meeting some needs, it may not be meeting some needs. That's very clear. So that then I connected with the idea that I want to be this love. I want to manifest this love, and how to hold this together. So very clarifying. But later on, when you said that you accept me for who I am, I was like, oh no, I'm this horrible person, and blah, blah. I'm in there.
Oh,
I don't want to share between. Then I realize it's 40
my
people
love for you.
watching, and
Yeah, my love for you triggered jackal ears in. Isn't that interesting? Yeah. My care for you, you interpreted that you're not good enough to receive that love. So then I honor that in you. Yeah. Yeah. You don't need to change. It'll change anyway. As far as I can tell, life just keeps changing. And sometimes I want to influence the direction of the change because I want to have more fun. I want to have more enjoyment, more ease, meet more needs with less cost. Yeah.
Jim, may I respond? So it is because I wanted to be seen, also for the clarity that maybe there's something, yeah. So the part about care and love, when you say it again, I'm very happy to receive it. If it's so easy, I'm happy to have it. The part I wanted to be seen fully was that maybe there's some truth or there's some validity in holding on to enemy images at some point. So I wanted to be sort of appreciated for that, bringing that piece in.
Great.
Gives me a less sense of.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes.
Being-
Yeah.
making a fool.
Everything we do is in the service of the need. And that doesn't mean it's actually going to meet the needs, but it might be. And so we want to honor the needs. Yeah.
Yeah, it may cost other needs, but we make that choice.
We're always doing the best we can. I'm
Yes.
totally confident of that.
Definitely.
So can we switch to Tanya now, and then we'll go do another practice. Does that work for you, Shamatha?
Yes.
Tanya?
This may not be something you want to bring in, but what keeps coming up for me during all of this talk is that for me, whenever we feel triggered by something that someone else does, this is always to me a traumatic elicitation. Maybe a tiny trauma. It doesn't have to be, the hurricane, but there's some trauma that's happening, and that the use of these techniques, the jackal in, jackal out, empathy in, empathy out, these are all part of the way that we unpack. And I love Resmaa Menakem's word, metabolize our traumas, so that we can meet the actual experience that we're in now, and not reaching back into painful past things and reliving them over and over again, and instead of experience what is really happening in the moment. So I just love Marshall's ability to just cut through the bullshit and get right to what is helpful. And I just want to praise him again for doing this work for us, giving us these signposts on how to live more fully. So
That's a great idea.
What will meet the most needs at the least cost to other needs? That's the name of the game.
So let's play some more. I made new groups, and so we're going to play a little collaboration game for the last 15 minutes. And the first two sessions will only be about 2 minutes long, so you won't have time to probably hear from everybody. But the first one will be 3 minutes, the second one will be 3 minutes. And your task in your small group is to just talk about your own reactive patterns. The first one is jackal ears out. I'm going to give you an observation here from the list of people, from the list that we got at the very beginning of the call. The one I chose randomly, because I think it might be interesting, is you are always avoiding me. So that's the observation that we hear, is you are always avoiding me. And now in your small group, you talk about what your reactive response would be if somebody said that to you. And then we'll hear a couple of them when we come back.
And did you say 1 minute or 2 minutes per
It's
person?
2 minutes plus, not per person, for this whole little group. It's a very short group, just 3 minutes.
Okay,
So-
so that means it's helpful if someone will give you if someone will cover it, that there's a half a minute, and then they know it's time to switch.
Yeah, you it's more like a group discussion than everybody being
Oh,
heard.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to get everybody heard.
Okay, never mind.
You'll be fine. You'll work it out. You might even have, yeah, anyway, we'll find out what happens. So here you go. The observation again is you're always avoiding me, and your job is to notice what your habitual jackal ears out response is. So my question before we go to the next group is, was there any laughter in your small group when you heard these jackals?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots.
And if there was laughter, just to get a feel for it.
Yeah. So
It was so therapeutic.
yes, it's hilarity therapy is what I call it. Yeah. Wonderful.
Good.
Yeah, so I'd like to be able to install that in myself, so when I hear them in the real world, my first response, maybe not to do it out loud, but it's just to laugh. Oh, so we're working on that.
Yeah, it's more for me. It's not a laugh. Sometimes when I'm in a really good space, it's like, oh, how human of you.
Yeah. Yeah. So now we go to the second stage. Now we put our jackal ears, same observation. You're always avoiding me. And now what's your habitual blame yourself thought? And again, 3 minutes, and see what it's like for you to do that. Jackal ears in, self-blame, self-criticism.
Hi.
Okay. So this jackal ears in is often more tender, and the order of things matters here, because now the invitation is to put these ears on. So connecting with yourself after hearing the way you might talk to yourself when you hear a difficult message like that. Now give yourself some acknowledgement. First, just acknowledge how you feel. With giraffe ears in, notice how you feel when you talk to yourself that way. Be with you. Again, you start by noticing the body. And just notice and name sensations when you talk to yourself in this harsh way. And just allow that sometimes we talk to ourselves this way. Sometimes we hold that enemy image of ourself.
Yeah, it's giving yourself permission to be human.
And the way to support that humanity is then to connect with your needs. What need is alive in you when you talk to yourself that way? And just be present with the needs that come up for you. I know when I talk to myself in that harsh way, it's often driven by need for learning or growth or connection. Might be different for you. And then connect with what it's like to hear that original observation. You're always avoiding me. When you hear that, what do you notice in your body? Sometimes I put my hand on my heart here because it's like a signal I give myself to connect with my inner experience. It might be helpful for you, maybe not, but you're welcome to try it if you like. I'm reminding myself I have a heart. that another person's words might have an impact on me that I don't enjoy. It's not their fault. It's my needs. What's the need that's alive in me when I feel hurt
It's
or
giraffe
annoyed?
ears in.
And then we go back to the large group, to the small group one last time to do the PhD program. And I'm going to make it just a little bit longer. I wish we had more time, but we'll make it total of 5 minutes. Make some guesses and support each other in making the guess about what might be alive in the person who delivers that message. What do you imagine when they say, "You're always avoiding me"? What do you imagine they're feeling when they say that? And then see if you can connect it to their needs. And then we'll be back here together in 5 minutes.
Welcome. We're just a few more minutes left to the class.
And she's been here. Hi. All right. So we got about 12 minutes left. Like to hear some reflections of what you're taking away from our time together. And I see there's a request in the chat that I will try to fulfill that request here before we go. But anybody want to say anything, especially about this last piece? How'd your PhD program go? Making guesses about what might be alive in the person that says, "You're always avoiding me." Anybody got any guesses of what they might be feeling or needing? Yeah, Rob.
Well, our thing was that we were very hesitant because we don't know who the person is and like that. And so the thought was, to say something like, "What would you be into some empathy?" To get some invitation going there, some request in the form of invitation before laying on the empathy and that type of thing.
Yeah, so your guess is maybe the person was needing some connection, and it could be coming
Yeah,
in the form of
yeah.
empathy. Yeah, that's a good guess. I like that guess. Anybody else got a guess about what might be going on in the person? Nikhil Ananda says in the chat, empathy, understanding, connection, love, acceptance, affection, compassion. Yeah, those are all good guesses. Yeah, Isabel.
It occurred to me as others were sharing and as I was sharing my guess, and we were all nodding at each other's guesses, that it will all depend on the context that each one is conjuring up. That after all, any of the universal needs could fit in it at any moment. So it's just a guess. And then I noticed my mind trying to tag on to, am I right? Was my guess better? So there's always this comparison. And when I let that go and drop my need to be right, because none of us, we don't have a situation here,
Yeah.
then my mind liberated. And I think that is why we need these empathy guesses, not to be right, but rather give ourselves the pause of that guessing time so that we can be liberated from that tight spot of judging and concluding.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
Beautiful. Yeah, because there's no right answer. I've actually heard people say that they need something and then reflect back, they need that, and they'll go, no, it wasn't that. It's something, it just keeps moving. It's a moving, I want to say target, but we're not aiming. We're just walking with.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jeff?
I had an interesting experience just in that my tendency was to say, I heard a need for this, and this. And then someone else came in with, are you needing this? Are you needing that? And their response to this exercise was in the form of questions. And I just learned like, oh, that's different. Me saying what is, or what I hear versus, anyway, questioning. So that was good for me. Thank you.
And either could be what we're doing so far, just to be clear, everything that we've done today is inside job. Haven't opened our mouth yet at all. This is all our self-empathy process. Next week, I thought we'd get to it today, but this has been too much fun and too deep to go the way we've done. So next week we'll go to answer the question, now what? Now that we've done this empathy, this self-empathy work, now what do we do in order to create a quality of connection that inspires compassionate giving and receiving? So we'll take it to the next level next week. And I like it here. Nushin said that one guess would be maybe they're feeling angry and they want to set boundaries. And setting boundaries is one way of putting it. I'd go maybe one level deeper. If they set boundaries, what need might that meet? And when I think about myself setting boundaries, I set boundaries when I need to protect myself, right? That's what a boundary means. It's a request we have that can support protection. I have a gate in the front of my yard. I want to protect myself when I close the gate. If the gate's open, I don't need to protect myself right now. Mm-hmm. And so a boundary is a strategy that we often use in the service of protection.
And I want to highlight the words that Jim used. And if I had that, it would bring, and you go deeper and deeper until it's like, oh yeah, that one lands.
Yeah. And so other guesses from Odile, to matter, safety, acknowledgement, security, belonging.
I want to sing, these are a few of my favorite things. That's what needs are, really.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, when we're doing the self-empathy part, and even if we actually say our empathy out loud, there's no right or wrong answer. The idea of this is to open our heart to the experience and to break the pattern of jackal. Instead of doing our jackal response of either fighting fire with fire or blaming ourselves for the other person's feelings or their expression, instead we're using it to connect. We either connect with the other person's feelings and needs or to connect with our own feelings and needs as part of our self-empathy. And then next week, we'll focus on, okay, now what? Now that I'm connected, or at least I think I'm connected to the needs, what can we do about it?
Yeah, and just connecting to the needs is such a shift of our being.
Yeah. So now we have the last 5 minutes left. So this is where we usually put some links into the chat, and so that it can support different ways that we can stay connected. So the first link that I'm putting into the chat is, if you're not on our email list yet, oops, I just did not send that to everybody. I need to change this.
Nushin, you got to be special there for a minute.
You should be able to go to that link and sign up for our email list. And then you'll get one email every week. Usually it comes on Sunday or Monday, something like that. So, and Siva, I did add you. Please let me know in a chat if you got it this week.
She just shook her head.
Great.
Yes.
And then, you want to talk about this one, Jory?
Okay, I can do that. I enjoy, at this point in my life, the thing I enjoy the most is connecting with people on a one-to-one basis. And so that is the link, jory.youcanbook.me. And you're welcome to connect to support yourself in ways of being more aware or just needing some empathy. Maybe there's some learning that's not clear for you, things like that. I'm happy to connect with you.
Thanks. Touched by that offer every week. Then this link here goes to the recordings. Every week I take the recording, I don't edit it, so it's fairly raw, and I put it up on a YouTube channel, and then I also put it on our website. Noticed the other day that almost 120 people on our YouTube channel now, which is not very many people, but it's more than it was a year ago, which was 0. So that's just kind of fun to have a YouTube channel. I feel like a Instagram influencer or something. But anyway, the recordings are there, and now underneath each recording are the handouts. So today we'll put the needs list up there in case you don't have it yet. And we will put the little slideshow with the practice that we did today as well. And then I wrote a book a year ago called Pathways to Nonviolent Communication, and we're actually working our way through those skills here in an indirect way this time. But if you don't have the book yet, you can buy it at any of those bookshops or your local bookseller. Pathways to Nonviolent Communication.
And when he says your local bookseller, you can order it from there.
Yeah.
You can ask them to order it for you.
Same with the local library. Ask your local library to buy 5,000 copies of it or one. And then we do everything we do in the spirit of compassionate giving and receiving, which is another way of saying the gift economy or donation basis. And if you want to give money, you can use my PayPal account. It goes to our business. And then from there we use the money that we get to pay it forward with some sort of an NVC project. A few weeks ago, we were collecting money for Amina in the Philippines, and because of your generosity, we were able to gift her with $1,250. So thank you for your generosity and supporting her project for our only trainer in the Philippines.
Right, and before that, we used the money for people who are leaving Russia, needing support.
Yeah, and Ukrainian trainer. So we're always finding some fun way to give. If you want to give,
fun might be strong, but
it's fun for me to give.
Well, I would just talk about people leaving Russia, so I wouldn't put that under the fun category. But yes, in a meaningful way.
And then this last link here is for the Center for Nonviolent Communication. If you want to give directly to them, we encourage that as well.
That's a new link.
Yeah. And so Center for Nonviolent Communication is the organization that was started by Marshall Rosenberg to support his mission of spreading NVC. And if you do decide to give directly to CNVC, Center for Nonviolent Communications, please just let us know so we can celebrate it with you. And just so that we know, it really gives us a chance to celebrate the work that they do to support Marshall. And
Marshall's work.
Yeah, Marshall's work. Yeah. So I think with that, somebody wanted to sing "Happy Birthday" to Jim, so I think I'll turn the recording off before we do that. But I'm happy to receive that love, and then we'll have our little after party.
Monica.
And I don't know if you've ever tried singing on Zoom. It's quite a wonderful chaos.